Hi everyone. So for today's project, I'm using this candy mold. My daughter gave this to me, but she thinks she might have got it from Amazon or Michaels. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some cornstarch into 2 of them. And I put a bunch in and I kind of move it around, shake it, stomp it, and then I dump out the excess. And then I clean that up and I turn it over again and dump it out again and pat it on the bottom. You want to make sure you get all the cornstarch that's clumped up out of those grooves. And then I just started filling it with hot glue. And every once in a while I stop, pop some air bubbles, and then add some more, and then kind of jiggle it around to keep it as level as possible and to get it into every one of those grooves. And like I said, I did this to 2 of them to show you, but I actually did make 3 of these. I did one test one before I did all this. And once I had them completely full, I let them set for a few hours. And when they were totally cooled down, I just popped them right out of the mold. I'm not sure if the cornstarch is definitely needed, but I used it. I have seen other people say you don't need it, but I didn't want to take any chances. I used about 4 glue sticks per mold on this, and they were the wider ones. And once I had them out of the mold, I just took a paintbrush and I kind of brushed off any excess cornstarch. And now I'm going to paint them. So I used acrylic paint here, and I put a little bit into a jar, or you can use a Dixie cup, whatever. I added a little bit of play sand because I wanted them to have a little bit of texture. And I also added just a little bit of brown paint and some water. And I mixed it all up, and I just gave each of these 1 coat. And you will see on the second one that I paint that I did add a little bit of a darker orange in there. I kind of tried to get them to be 3 different shades, but in the end, they kind of all turned out looking the same anyway. But it's okay. They turn out adorable. And as you can tell by the orange paint, that these are going to be little pumpkins. So the next thing I did once they were completely dry was add some antique wax to them. And I used a very thin paintbrush just to get into those ridges, just to give them a little more dimension. And then I went over them also with some white chalk paint. And I kind of dry brushed the chalk paint on. I tried to stick to the areas that had a lot of texture to give it that kind of dusty look that you see on pumpkins sometimes. And when that white paint was dry, I took my glue gun and I just melted a hole right in the top of my little pumpkin, and I added a stem. And I used the branches from a floral pick. It was like a coated wire. And I just kind of twisted a few of them together and bent them a little bit. And I just pushed them right down into that hole. And it turned out really great. It looks pretty realistic, I think. And then the last thing I did was wrap just a little bit of raffia around the stem. And they turned out super cute. They would look adorable on a tiered tray, or maybe a whole bunch of them as bowl fillers. Maybe you could stick a skewer in the bottom of them and put them in a plant. I don't know, whatever you choose to do with them, they're going to be adorable. And these little pumpkins were super fun to make, and I really hope you like the project. And I hope you give this one a try. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.